Hi everyone in English 2323, it's Dr. E and I'm here with your week 5 instructional video. I really appreciate your patience and all your well wishes last week. It's just that time of year, right? The congestion is real and continues to be real. So I hope you all are doing well and feeling well and taking care of yourselves. But let's go ahead and get into what we have going on this week, which is a pretty straightforward week, thankfully, right? So I do have a note here in the week 5 module that says that I'll be working to just kind of get things updated. If you are seeing a slash instead of a grade in the grade book when you go there, if you go to visit your grades, that does not mean you received a 0. That just means that things still need to be updated in terms of grades. I'm still working on transferring some things from my paper grade book and getting grades actually completed. So just be patient with me, but I'll get those things updated, as well as our semester schedule. But I did put a note here that, if you want to look ahead, which this is a pretty intense week, so if you did some work or working ahead last week, that's great, but if not, this week is a pretty intense one when it comes to reading, just because we have this background chapter. But if you have time to get ahead, remember that we will be working next week on what was originally week 5, right? As I work to update the schedule. Hopefully I haven't just confused everyone. If I have, I apologize, just ignore me. All right, so for this week, we are reading that background chapter by our text editors on the Victorian age. I do have page numbers here, and that's from the previous edition. I know some of you have purchased the previous edition of the text, it should be fine because I scheduled everything based on that, which, we all know was my big mistake of the semester so far. But remember that you can look in the table of contents for the Victorian age background chapter, as well as the biography of Tennyson and his poem, The Lady of Shalott, which is, one of Tennyson's most favorite. I'm gonna get there, folks. I appreciate your patience. One of his most well-known and popular poems. All right, so everything's available Monday. You are currently watching the instructional video. Awesome. Please watch the mind map video, which just goes through the expectations and guidelines, because you do have one of those assignments due on Thursday. So I do want to note that the original due date for the mind map is Thursday, but because it's not a discussion, I know discussions don't have the grace period because it really requires that you communicate with one another, you respond to one another, and that means it needs to happen in real time so people can read responses and do all that good work. But the mind map is a bit different. It's not requiring any other commentary from other folks, from your colleagues. It's submitted to me. So I've actually made that due date essentially Sunday with the full grace period to Tuesday. But of course, I encourage you to get it done on Thursday. Why not get the mind map out of the way? But especially because we're thinking about this really long and intense chapter, which don't read all of these pages at once. Practice mindfulness when it comes to your reading. Take breaks. Set your timer for 20 minutes, then take a break. Just do whatever it is you need to do, because it's just a lot. It's dense reading, but so important to give us that background, right, when we start reading authors from this time period, such as Tennyson. So all of that to say that the mind map is essentially fully due on Tuesday, but submit it early, submit it before then, because you also have a heftier participation quiz based on all of the reading and materials, and that's due Sunday with the grace period until Tuesday. But work ahead. I'm gonna stop there. I'm gonna stop mothering everybody. Okay. So you are watching what will appear as number 1, and then you have the mind map video, which is just a general video, just goes through the guidelines and expectations, but the paper copies of those guidelines are here. And then we have some template links. If you don't want to use the template, that's absolutely fine. If you want to use Canva or MindMap or any program out there, that's absolutely fine, as long as it meets the guidelines, right? As long as you have those 4 bubbles emanating from your central bubble, that kind of thing, which will all make sense when you review the guidelines in the video. Some of you have already done all of this, but some of you might not have. All right, so we do have the mind map due this week, and it's going to be based on that chapter of the Victorian age. And this is essentially what will be in the center. And then remember that you need 4 bubbles emanating out from that on the 4 main ideas that you identify from the chapter. And then from each of those bubbles, you need a quote. So follow MLA guidelines as closely as you can. Just be accurate with the quote. That's really all I'm looking for in this, is that the wording is exact and that you're using quotation marks. For those background chapters, remember you can credit our overall text editor, Greenblatt. You don't need to go in and find the specific editor. I feel as though, you may have stricter professors who really want that, but Greenblatt is kind of who I view as most responsible for the text, because he is the main editor. All right, so guidelines, templates, if you want Google Docs templates, but of course you can use something like Canva or MindMap and make it fancy. Don't spend too much time on the fanciness of it. Spend the majority of your time on the ideas, okay? If you're like me, I can sometimes go down a rabbit hole when it comes to changing colors and fonts and all of this stuff. Put most of your effort and time into the ideas, okay? All right, and then you also have a quiz over everything that we're doing this week, which hopefully has just become kind of second nature for you to complete those quizzes. It is a bigger quiz, it's 20 points this week, so make sure that when it comes time, you're really comfortable with the reading, maybe have the text up and ready to go so you can reference that and find the information that you need. I'm not trying to be tricky in those questions and make you really look very hard, but it's a lot of reading to have questions over, so just be prepared for that. All right, I will stop now. Just take some time to make sure you're getting really comfortable with all of these modules and the areas where information can be found for our course. And as always, if you want to ask a question, go to the discussion area, to that Q&A discussion thread, and let us know, and jump in if you can answer any of your colleagues' questions, and I'll be touching base in there as well. All right, y'all, good luck this week. Hope you're doing well. Let me know what you need.